"You're dead!" my brother shouts. "Faster," I tell myself. "I have to run faster. If I keep going at this pace, he'll catch me." I can hear his thumping footsteps quickly gaining on me. In the back of my mind, I know that if he catches me, he'll give me one hell of a bad time. So I push myself even harder, my little legs pumping as fast as they can go, beads of sweat racing down my face and back. He might be bigger and stronger, but with how small I am, I can cut through these trees like the wind. Well, I thought as much. My big brother didn't seem to have any trouble cutting through the forest, as I had hoped for. In all honesty though, it was my fault that he was chasing me like a crazed man. Telling his girlfriend that he said he was sick of her seemed pretty funny at the time, but what wasn't funny was when she hung up the phone and showed up at our house about 30 minutes later, screaming like a banshee and saying that she never wanted to see him again. What she didn't know though was that the story I told her was just a prank. It made my older brother's ongoing prank war. To a 10-year-old that seemed pretty funny, but that wasn't how my brother saw it. I was planning on telling her, but she stormed off and drove away too fast. When I saw my brother's face as he walked into the kitchen, I knew that I was a dead man. What made it even worse was that I was sporting the widest grin that my face could bear. So here I am, running through the woods at full speed as my brother shouts obscenities over my shoulder. I look back to see how close my brother is, while I'm still running at full speed. In hindsight though, I should have kept looking forward. That way I may have seen what was in front of me. I never even saw the fence that blended in perfectly with the trees. Before I knew it, I was on my back, seeing stars while the wind was knocked out of me. The chattering sound of a chain link fence reverberated through the forest. Then I heard heavy footsteps come up behind me. I was still laying on the ground, trying to catch my breath when my older brother walked into my line of sight. He was about to reach down and grab me when I sprung up into a sitting position. I crawled away as fast as I could. He must have been really tired, because he somehow didn't catch me. But I didn't have anywhere else to go regardless. I made it all of 3 feet before I crawled up against the fence. I turned around panting, about to tell my brother to rethink this beating that he was about to inflict on me when I looked at his face. It was a mix of shock, panic, and anxiety. I was puzzled by the look. I've never seen my brother like this. It's unnerving and kind of comical at the same time. "What's that look for?" I asked. "You look like..." I get cut off when my brother hisses. "Shut up, you idiot! We're not supposed to be here." "What?" I responded, even more puzzled by his weird answer. At this point, he's not even looking at me anymore. He's looking behind me, in a pose that makes him look ready to run in a blink of an eye. I probably should have been freaked out, but in my 10-year-old mind, seeing my big bad older brother shaking like a leaf was the funniest thing that I've ever seen. "What the hell?" I said. "What's that look for?" "I'll say it once, and I'll say it again, you idiot. We should not be here," he said through gritted teeth. With that, he grabbed me by my arm and sprinted through the forest in the direction of our house. He was running so fast he was practically dragging me. Hours later when we got home, I overheard my mom giving my brother a stern talking to. It was mostly muffled speaking, seeing that I was trying to listen through my bedroom wall, but it didn't matter. No more than 2 minutes later, after she chewed out my older brother, she was in my room. "Listen," she said. "You must never, ever go back into those woods. And you must never go near that fence." I was about to ask why when she turned on her heels and she left. I heard her mutter, "I really thought those scary stories would keep you out." That rule my mother put in place to keep me out of the woods lasted all of 2 days. The fact that I was told not to do something, and that I wasn't able to go into a place that was in my backyard, really ate at me. On the first day, I stayed up all night thinking about that fence. It looked like nothing more than your old run-of-the-mill chain link fence. It wasn't even that tall. It was about 1.5 feet taller than me. It was also really old and rusty. The only thing that was holding it together was luck, and the fact that the trees against it weren't pushing up against it harder. The second day, I decided that whatever was beyond that fence, no matter what, I'd figure out what it was. But I was no fool. I wasn't gonna go by myself. The phone rang 3 times before the unmistakable sound of my best friend's voice came through. "Hey dude, what's up?" "Oh, I don't know. I've only found the strangest place in this podunk town." Instantly I could hear the excitement in his voice. "What did you find? And where is it?" "It's in the woods. and it's this old rusty fence. It freaked my brother out real good, so I decided that we should check it out, I said. Oh, that's all he said. What's wrong? I asked. My mom said I shouldn't go in the woods, but she didn't say why. So did mine, I said. This place is so mysterious. Come on, Mikey. I then went on to spend 30 minutes trying to convince Mikey, and let me tell you that was hard, but eventually he cracked. The plan was that we would meet in my backyard on the weekend. Then I would take us to the fence. Then we would hop it and explore the other side. Granted, the trees on the other side were really thick, and we probably wouldn't fit, but we would figure out that part when we got there. It took me a while, but we finally found the spot. We both stood there staring at the fence in the middle of the woods that was very out of place. We approached it, both of us walking slowly. Just as I remembered, the fence was rusty and dirty, looking very worn and old. It was probably there before my older brother was even born. For the life of me, I couldn't understand why we weren't supposed to be here. Yeah, the fence was odd, but what was so wrong with it? After we were about 2 feet away, Mikey and I looked at each other, thinking the same question. Who would be the one to attempt to scale the fence first? After some deliberation, we decided that a game of rock, paper, scissors would be the deciding factor in who went first. Mikey casted rock, and I casted scissors. With a sigh, I moved towards the fence, placing one hand on it, when I realized that climbing the fence made no sense. There was no space for me to fit in between the fence and the thick trees on the other side. Removing my hand from the fence, I started to look around. Then I found it, a sizable rock. I approached the fence once more. Then I adjusted the old padlock that kept the fence shut. Looking at it, I noticed that it had odd scratches running across it that almost made it look as if it wanted to be some kind of indescribable language. Pushing that observation to the side, I raised the rock in both of my hands and brought it down. The connection between rock and metal made a loud clang and made the fence rattle, but I noticed that the rusty lock had a sizable chip in it. Then I continued. Several swings later, I heard the lock snap. I grabbed a hold of the lock that still had the end of the chains connected, and I unhooked it. As soon as I did, I felt a shift in the atmosphere of the forest. It made my stomach turn, and I instantly started to sweat. I felt something primal in my stomach that told me that I had made a huge mistake by doing what I just did. Turning, I looked back at Mikey, and he had a look on his face that told me that he had the exact same feeling. Suddenly, a swirl of wind picked up and made the trees in the forest shake and swing from side to side. Then, the shrieking sound of metal hinges that have not been used in ages erupted. I looked to the fence, and right before my eyes, the gate's fork latch rose. Then the gate slowly pushed itself open. I felt my heart almost drop out of my chest as a deep bellowing laugh rippled through the forest. Then it was followed by one sentence. "Thank you, child." Then I watched in horror as the trees that were beyond the open fence started to bow and bend. I turned on my heels to make a run for it when I noticed that Mikey was ahead of me, and all I could see was his fleeing form cutting through the forest. Faster and faster I pushed myself, running like my life depended on it, and to my knowledge, it did. It felt as if my heart was pumping molasses through my veins how hard my heart was beating. My lungs felt like they were on fire, and I had loads of scratches on my face and arms as I ran past trees that hit me. I could hear something behind me as I ran, but it wasn't on my level. It was up in the trees. I looked up to see a large figure about the size of a couch, jumping from tree to tree. Then all of a sudden it stopped following me. Then it jumped to the right and continued in that direction. I made it to my house and I ran inside, slamming and locking the door. Stumbling to my living room, I looked to see Mikey sitting on my couch, panting like a dog that was chasing a particularly fast squirrel. He looked at me and said, "Richie, I think we've made a huge mistake." Later on, after Mikey went home, my dad turned on the TV and started to watch the news. It showed a news reporter standing in front of someone's house with a grim look on her face. She went on to say that an old man was found in his front yard, torn apart from what looked like a bear. I looked to my dad, and he sported the same look that the reporter had. He then looked to my mother and said, "The fence." In turn, she looked at me and asked, "Did you go back there?" With a heavy heart, knowing that the death of that old man was my fault, I explained what I had done. After I was done, my father had a look of fear and anger strewn across his face, and my mother was crying. My father then explained. He said that it took 20 men to trap and seal that thing in the forest, and only 5 of them came back. And the only one who could make a seal strong enough to trap that thing once again was now torn into ribbons in his front yard. After a week went by, 3 other men were found dead, all torn apart. My father was the last one to die. As the years went by, people would randomly go missing in my little podunk town. But every time the anniversary of when I let the thing out comes around, it kills at least 5 people. It's been 12 years, and almost everyone important to me has been killed. My brother, my mother, even Mikey. My town is now desolate, with only people who refuse to leave their homes, and myself remain. People have tried to leave, and some have even escaped, but most don't even get far. I don't know why it hasn't come for me yet. I think it's because I let it out, or maybe it's saving me for last. I'm not moving away. I'm not even gonna try. It's my fault so many people have died. It's my fault that thing is on the loose. All I know is that there aren't many people left in my town, and I'm pretty sure I know what's gonna happen when the rest of us run out. All I can say is, I am so sorry. Hello once again. Thank you for listening to my latest story. I hope that you've enjoyed. First off, I'd like to apologize for not uploading last week. I had a lot of stuff to do with school, but it was also a lot of procrastination. I hope that you've enjoyed the story enough that it made it up to you. If you did enjoy the story, please consider subscribing and sharing the video. All of my important links are in the description down below if you'd like to ask me any questions, or you could just leave a comment. I'd also like to thank all of the people that have subscribed to me. As of recording this, I am now at 21 subscribers. I know that's not a lot to most YouTubers, but that is insane to me. I honestly probably would get stage fright if I had to read one of my stories in front of 10 people in real life. It also makes me very happy that people are actually enjoying what I'm putting out. Anyway, that's it from me. And I'd like to say thank you once again, and come back next time when I can hopefully have another horrific story on time from a world much like your own.